Upon arriving in Kuala Lumpur, stars T. Lung and Lo Li politely declined a challenge from a local boxing champion.
武打英雄功夫电影。
Veteran Shaw Brothers director Ho Meng-hua sparked a popular horror trend with this daring and gruesome film, which, though somewhat overambitious for its modest budget, finds its charm in exactly that. His take on Hong Kong exploitation cleverly taps into traditional Chinese folk fears, where the exotic rituals and superstitions of remote villages clash with the cynicism of the industrialized world. Ku Feng stars as the sinister Grand Wizard of Gru, wielding black magic for both profit and personal gain.
This swift and low-budget Shaw production is tamer than the outrageous, stomach-churning films it later inspired. Yet it all started here, with ragged sorcerers muttering curses, doomed adulterers, squirming invertebrates, and a writhing pandemonium of worms.
我要求的就是爱情价，可以使一个不爱我的人来爱我。
我爱上了一个男人，
中了我降头的人，不出3天就会死得不明不白。一撮头发，要连根的。
第二呢？
要他的血，我敢担保他任你摆布。
有没有人能破了他呢？
去就到。这是降头，你要听我的话，给我转回来。除非有一天丧战彼此，那是我的降头。
Liang, a greedy and selfish playboy, learns of a sinister sorcerer named Shan who claims he can grant any desire. Desperate and penniless, Liang strikes a deal with the dark magician, promising payment in exchange for a love spell to win over Luo Yin, a wealthy widow who despises him. However, Luo herself is infatuated with Su, a handsome engineer engaged to the refined Chu Ying. Determined to have Su for herself, Luo wishes for his fiancée's death. As a series of mysterious deaths and baffling medical anomalies unfold, an elderly practitioner of white magic begins to uncover the malevolent force behind it all, Shan and his black magic.
With a shoestring budget but sky-high entertainment value, Black Magic opens with a severed head, a cooked human stomach used in a death spell, a naked couple slain by voodoo dolls, and a sorcerer showdown, all in just the first 10 minutes. The madness only escalates from there, though it slows in the middle stretch, morphing into a sleazy soap opera where characters cast lust-driven spells to seduce one another. Things ramp up again in the final act, as good and evil sorcerers clash atop a construction site, hurling talismans that trigger clunky optical effects beneath a darkening sky filled with rear-projected, rippling clouds.
One of the most outrageous films ever produced by the Shaw Brothers. Who would have guessed that stuffing glutinous rice into a vagina or mixing breast milk with snake venom could ensure a man's eternal fidelity? Or that burying rotting human teeth and severed fingers beneath a man's bed would turn him into a woman's love-struck slave? Elsewhere, there are worm-infested coconuts, rubber centipedes, melting corpses, and squirming larvae erupting from skin or being vomited up. This was the twisted groundwork for Hong Kong's future boundary-pushing horror, where later films would feature actors actually consuming live worms, scorpions, and more, only to regurgitate them on cue. But the invertebrate madness all began with Ho's sorcery cult classic. Though black magic stands on its own, it might never have existed without the massive success of a certain American horror film.
The global success of The Exorcist, 1973, heralded a wave of ghost stories and demonic possession tales across cultures. In Hong Kong, its box office dominance spurred the Shaw Brothers to craft their own brand of horror in a similar vein. Exploitation cinema proved a lucrative draw in 1974, and the trend was clearly headed toward more of the same.
Chinese possession films began emerging rapidly, spanning a range of styles, from traditional, period-set ghost stories like The Revenge of the Two Exorcists, 1975, and Witchcraft of the Mao People, 1977, to contemporary supernatural thrillers steeped in rural folklore and primitive beliefs, such as Magic Curse, 1975, The Reincarnation, 1976, and Ghost Lover, 1976. The Shaw brothers responded with the heavily promoted Ghost Eyes, a film about a sinister optometrist and his cursed contact lenses, directed by K. Chi-hung, arguably the greatest yet most underrated exploitation filmmaker in Hong Kong cinema. As the relatively new K began to dominate the local horror scene, Shaw veteran Ho Meng-hua dove into diabolical territory in ways the studio had never explored before.
Ho's approach diverged slightly, charting a path that K would later follow, though often pushing it to even more ludicrous extremes. Yet unlike K, it was Ho who lit the fuse for the black magic subgenre, one that would flourish for a decade with gut-churning results, becoming Hong Kong's answer to Italy's Mondo and cannibal film cycles. In many of these films, ancient curses and primitive sorcery seep into modern society, infecting, or, depending on one's perspective, cleansing, a decaying world where ethical values have long since eroded.
我也买得起。我丈夫迷恋一个少女，对我变了心。
你今天中午可以去收尸了，回去吧。
Based on Ni Kuang's script, the film explores dark Southeast Asian witchcraft, ranging from love potions to the omnipotent, flying magic. Director Ho Meng-hua filmed in Malaysia to capture the story's forbidding atmosphere.
Production on Black Magic began in December 1974, with scenes already filmed featuring much of the main cast, including T. Lung, Tanny, Lo Li, and Lily Lee. However, the role of the sorcerer remained uncast at that point. The crew was scheduled to travel to Malaysia in February 1975 for location shooting. By then, Ku Feng had officially joined the project to portray the malevolent black magician, one of his most chilling performances.
Upon arriving in Kuala Lumpur, stars T. Lung and Lo Li politely declined a challenge from a local boxing champion.
This marked the second phase of T. Lung's long and prolific career. After spending the previous 7 years starring in action and wuxia films under the guidance of the revered Chang Che, he began branching out into unfamiliar genres and collaborating with new directors. In what would become the first of only 2 horror films in his filmography, T. Lung appears somewhat out of his element, though he handles the material with the poise and professionalism one would expect from a seasoned star.
While Black Magic was in production, T. Lung's second directorial effort, The Young Rebel, 1975, premiered in theaters, even as he was filming on location in Malaysia. At the same time, the actor was also involved in 2 major historical dramas helmed by the meticulously Han Xiang, The Last Days of the Empress Dowager, 1975, and The Last Tempest, 1976. Adding to the whirlwind of his career, T. Lung tied the knot with Amy Tao, his girlfriend of 4 years, on March 23, 1975. Because he had shaved his head for 2 films he was shooting with director Li Han Xiang, T had to wear a wig both for the wedding ceremony and on set.
Black Magic, Ho's pioneering film, is wildly entertaining, though undeniably over the top and constrained by a modest budget that strains to exceed its limits. The special effects are crude but undeniably ambitious. At the time, Hong Kong lacked the caliber of effects technicians found in the U.S. and other countries. During the 1970s, the industry made small strides toward developing its own special effects capabilities, despite their rudimentary nature. Occasionally, Japanese effects artists contributed to Shaw Productions, and British makeup artist Les Bowie even designed the monsters for The Legend of the 7 Golden Vampires, 1974. Still, it would take another 8 years before Hong Kong saw significant improvements in optical effects and other cinematic techniques. Beneath its grotesque surface, Black Magic simmers with a deeper theme of moral decay. Like many Chinese horror films of the era, It uses repulsive subject matter as an allegorical excuse to probe the corruption and perversion of social decorum. In this case, it's adulterous lust that sets the chaos in motion. Tanny's lascivious widow lusts after T. Lung's strapping engineer who wants nothing to do with her. Meanwhile, Lo Lia's unemployed conman yearns for Tanny's morally bankrupt character, but she spurns him in turn. Then there's T.I.'s fiancée, played by future Kung Fu star Lily Lee, whom Luo Yin wants dead after her $100,000 love spell fails, thanks to the intervention of a benevolent sorcerer. And at the center of it all is the oozing warlock, masterfully portrayed by Ku Feng. It is during these melodramatic sequences that Ho's film loses some of its allure, particularly when attempting to depict the disastrous consequences of human depravity and primal urges. Much of the subtext is obscured on a first viewing by poor visual effects and moments of unintentional comedy, such as T. Lung's battle with a supposedly possessed dog. It is obvious the animal is trying to flee, and at one point, you can clearly see the actor physically restraining it to keep it in the scene.
Fittingly for such a sleazy movie, Shaw starlets associated with the erotic genre, like Helen Ko and Dana, pop up in bit parts, sometimes dressed, sometimes not. Beyond the scenes shot in Malaysia, the production offers fascinating glimpses of the Hong Kong studio, including shots taken within movie town and the actors' living quarters. The film also features cameos from Yu Hua and Chen Ping, Tanny. Though their one-scene appearance as wealthy friends serves only to add star power, the actors were actually a couple off-screen and married in December 1975. A deliciously absurd entry in exploitation history, Black Magic, 1975, combines grotesque imagery and poor effects with a genre-defining story. It succeeds as pure escapist trash, though its impact may lessen once viewers discover that Hong Kong cinema offers even more shocking and superior examples of this specific style of horror.